Hello, everyone. My name is Bum, and I am your host today. Welcome to the MBA to MBB Getting into Management Consulting Spotlight. Today, we welcome Ian Glennon. Ian is a seasoned case interview coach, Stern alum, and a former BCG consultant. He's the founder of Custom Case Coach and specializes on successfully navigating MBB recruiting. Everyone, please welcome Ian.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. Very excited to start today. Welcome everybody, and as everyone trickles in, I might say it a few times, but look, the goal of today is basically to get you guys as many nuggets as possible from everything that I learned that I did right and wrong when I recruited, but also what I've seen from all my candidates over the past 5 years. Okay. The goal here is not to, suddenly you're a case whiz and you know how to get all the interviews, but it's trying to get you to avoid the major pitfalls that pretty much everybody falls through, and making sure that you're set up for success. Okay. We'll move pretty quickly today because I want to leave time for questions. So if I'm talking quickly, normally I talk slower, but I just want to get you guys as much as possible. So please bear with me. So just really quickly, we're not here for me, but just so that you guys have a little bit of context. I started out studying economics and French, and I was an IT consultant. And then I did my MBA at NYU. I worked at BCG. I then worked at a data analytics shop, and then I founded Custom Case Coach, which is basically dedicated to helping people like you get the consulting job as well as train consultants. So I run a ton of workshops for various universities, Michigan Ross, Imperial, NYU Stern, Yale, Princeton, etc. And then I also run workshops and trainings for companies and consultancies such as PwC, Carney, etc. Okay. So I've been doing this a while, but I started out with nothing. Okay. So just like you guys, or most of you, I came into this whole journey with zero background knowledge. All right. With zero background knowledge, just IT, right? I got 8 interviews and I didn't fail a single round. Okay. And so, I've lived through that experience of, oh my God, what is this process? There's so much information. I don't have enough time, all of that. And I got through to the other end. Okay. But then also, I've been able to see from everybody else's perspective what that journey looks like. And basically, over the past 5-ish years, I've coached hundreds of candidates, had thousands of coaching sessions. I have a 95% success rate. Okay. So, look, we're not here for me, right? We're going to skip this part. But I just wanted to show you, it's not just some guy talking to you. It is someone that, also similarly to most of you started out with no knowledge of the process, no actual, strategy consulting experience, but kind of, figured it out and then has helped other people figure it out. So everything I'm telling you guys today are things that I either used or wish I'd used, but also things that I've seen work, right? It's things that I've seen are common mistakes. And, I probably find that there's probably 15 or 20 like common mistakes throughout the whole thing that you just don't know if you don't know, right? Uh, you know, things like you should add salt and oil to your pasta, right? If you don't know, you don't know. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Okay. And if you ever need more information, you can always go to my website and check out articles, check out the course, all of that. So let's start. I'm trying to get you everything in 30 minutes. Okay. That's hard. But this is the overview of what we have. Okay. So what we've got is ultimately the application preparation portion of your journey. We have the recruiting and networking, which is not to be underestimated. And then we have the actual interview preparation. Okay. So with interview preparation, there's the foundational items, there is the casing itself, and then there's fit and behavioral. My goal is to get you the key tips and the things to start you off right. It's only 5%. Inherently, this journey is so long and intense. So please just keep in mind, this is the beginning. I mean, to try to keep the nuggets, but also keep that attitude of trying to learn and avoid the common mistakes of others. So we'll start off with the application preparation. Now, first of all, this is our goal, right? McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. That's what we want. Big dogs. We're going for that. Shooting for the stars, right? Wrong. If you are starting out saying, I'm only going to take McKinsey, BCG, and Bain, and that's what I want, you're going to be disappointed. I'm not saying you're not worth it, you can't get it, all of that. But I'm saying, yes, shoot for the stars, but be ready to settle for less. And this is not less. These companies are fantastic companies. I know a lot of people who went here who are happier than an MBB. Okay. So expand your net. Oh, and there's more, right? And there's more and more and more, right? I've got a list of what, 50, 60, 70. So just please don't go insane MBB or nothing. And please don't tie your ego and your self worth to three companies that have a 5% acceptance rate. Okay. We want them, right? But we may not get them, and that's okay. So that's pitfall number one. That's lesson number one. Please, you need to apply to as many firms as possible. Then you can go decide. If you get 10 offers, fantastic. If you get one, then great, right? But if you only go MBB and you get zero, wow, where are we now, right? Okay. Now, for the job itself, right? Just really quickly, because I know that you guys are kind of starting out here, and I get a lot of people who actually aren't really quite sure what consulting is. This is a brief overview. I'm always happy to answer any questions on like what the job really is, because I think a lot of people kind of BS around it and tiptoe around what it really is. If you guys want like literally what it is at the Q&A, I'm happy to answer that. But the good is that you're going to get growth, right? It was the most developmental time of my professional career. I learned so much. Why did I learn a lot? Because it's really hard, right? If you're going into the Marines or the SEALs, right, and you're doing that boot camp and the training, it is going to be hard, but you're going to learn all the skills you need. Okay. So, I don't liken myself to someone of that caliber of skill set, but it is kind of like that in the sense of you are going to grow a lot, but it takes hard work. Second thing is experience, right? You get tons of experience, exposure working with executives, CEOs, tons of travel, etc. But the bad is the travel, right? You will work hard. I spent 10 months flying from from Melbourne to Perth every single week. That's 3.5 hour flight each way, 3 hour time zone difference. It is exhausting. Okay. And then you build up resilience, right? Like I can handle anything now, right? But why? Because there's a lot of pressure. So the job is inherently stressful. There's a ton of pressure in every direction, but it builds resilience. So please don't go in thinking, oh, I'm going to get this amazing job and it's going to be rainbows and sunshines. I thought that, right? I remember the day I got the offer, I was like, this is the best day of my life. And then, you get into the job. So I don't want to scare you guys off already, but I do want you guys to come in understanding that this is a hard process. And if you think that the interview process is tough, like get ready for the job, right? This is a filtering mechanism. Okay. And by the way, if you thought that the interview process and all your prep would only take 20 hours, wake up, right? This is going to take 100+ hours just to get ready for the interviews. Okay. So if you don't want it, that's okay. That's fine. But it's better to know it now. It is an intense process, and it's an intense process to filter out the consultants as well. Okay. So, but we care about the job. So, what's the most important thing at the beginning? Your resume. You need the best resume possible. Get a killer resume. This is the first thing that is seen. Okay. What are the key tips? Well, basically, the template is critical. Man, if you just change how something looks, you take it from a 5 to a 9, right? Without changing anything else. Be concise and clear. Less is more. Start each bullet point with a powerful verb. Highlight your value created, and remember, less can sometimes be more. I spend a long time working with people on how to get the resume as good as possible, but please just remember, these are the key tips, okay? Think about how your spacing works. You don't want too much white space, not too little, okay? By the way, we're posting calls to action. So some of these are articles, some of these are courses, but feel free to click on them if you want a bigger deep dive into what I'm talking about. Because again, I'm giving the light overview. One of the things that people struggle with the most is the experience bullet point. So I love this. I don't know if you guys follow consulting comedy. I love this one, right? So how would you write, I changed a light bulb on a resume? The consultant says, I single-handedly managed the successful upgrade and deployment of a new environmental illumination equipment with no cost overruns and zero safety incidents. Okay. I love this one. Guess what? They both suck. Why? The second one, I still don't know what you did. Okay. So please do not do this last one and think that that's a good experience bullet point. Do not do the first one and think that it's a good experience bullet point. I still need to come across knowing what you did. So what do? Well, we say led team of 4 to diagnose light bulb malfunction issue, analyzed and assessed light bulb replacement options across cost benefit framework, determined optimal solution, and implemented in record time, ultimately saving the client 20% in light bulb costs, and 50% in uprunning electricity. I know what you did. Now I can actually visualize it and it sounds impressive. Don't do this first one. Don't do the second one. Do what I said. Makes sense. Please don't put changing light bulb on your resume. I think that goes without saying, but that's what we want. Okay. Now, in my course, I go through this more, but basically, just really quickly, here is what a real candidate of mine had, and this is what we developed. Okay. This is what a real candidate of mine had. This is what we developed. Okay. And again, it is not just throwing in a bunch of fancy words and a bunch of fancy numbers to try to make sure that it looks good. I actually know what these after bullet points are saying, but I'm really bringing across what the person did. So try to aim for this. Okay. This is the goal. It is so hard. So please, like, don't get discouraged. I've never had a candidate who just gets it right away. It takes that live back and forth and that editing. So use your university resources, use your peers, et cetera, et cetera. Try to get as many reviews as you can and build it more towards this. Okay. Now on the cover letter, don't waste your time. Okay. Cover letter, get it good, not great. Cover letter is what we call a table stakes items. You need it in order to play, but it is not going to move the needle in terms of if you have a 6 out of 10 cover letter and someone else has a 10 out of 10. It is a table stakes item. Okay. Resume, spend a ton of time. Networking, spend a ton of time. Time is a finite resource, and therefore we have to decide where to allocate it. This is important for your case prep. Anytime you're doing any case prep, think about why you're using your time that way and what your goal is, and if it's most optimally used. Don't bring your head around it and panic, but just always be deliberate. One of the ways to be deliberate about your time is cover letter. Mass produce it. Okay. I think I'm the only. I don't like to toot my own horn, but I think I'm the only person. I've never seen anyone talk about it this way. But it is so important, and it'll save you tens of hours that then you use to allocate elsewhere. Right? Mass produce your cover letter. Basically, what that means is you go and research the firms that you're mostly interested in. You get the key things that they're looking for, right? Look at the job description, look at what they look for in a candidate, all of that kind of stuff, and get it organized, and then find the patterns. And you'll start to find, 5, 6, 7, 8 like themes, quantitative and qualitative analytical skills, which could be problem solving, could be analytical skills, could be quantitative skills. Every company is going to use a different word, but it all fits under that analytical and quantitative stuff. That's a theme. Find your themes and then pick the ones that you are the best at, i.e., the ones that you can defend. If you don't have leadership experience, don't write a paragraph on leadership experience. You've got 7 or 8 to choose from. Write 3 to 5 paragraphs on their own against those themes. Get those paragraphs good. And now you've got mechanized parts. You have an assembly line, which means you've got your paragraphs, 3 or 4. You're ready to go. You go to Bain's website, you go, cool. They want A, C, and F. I have A, C, and F. I plug that into my cover letter. I change the company name. And then I change the wording of that theme. So if I wrote about the quantitative and qualitative analytical skills, but Bain calls it analytical problem solving, I replace it with analytical problem solving. Mass produce your cover letter. Okay. Again, in that resume and cover letter course, and there are some articles as well, you will be able to get a deep dive in how I'll talk through how you do those bullet points and then talk through how you do these paragraphs and have templates and all that kind of stuff. Okay. This is important. It's important to stay organized. Don't be bureaucratic for the sake of being bureaucratic. I had a candidate recently that was like, okay, I've written down every single name of every single person that I'm going to go and network with and what their role and position is. I'm like, man, why? Once you find them, send them a message, right? And then if they respond, then maybe track them. Be smart about organization. Don't not use it, but don't use it excessively. You should have an application tracker, but pick your columns. What columns matter? Application deadline, for sure. What office or offices you're planning to apply to or applied to. You don't want to be in the interview and then forget, right? any referral or contact, right? And if you've submitted it, right, make sure that you know when you're done and you filter on that due date, all of that kind of stuff. Get an application tracker. I have one for you, but get an application tracker and just get the key columns that matter. Stay organized throughout this whole process. Okay. I think that's the fastest I've ever done the application prep. But hopefully that's helpful on that. Look, your number one goal with your application prep is get as many applications out as possible with the highest chance of getting an interview, right? Volume times percent. Okay. The volume and percent is included in that first part. The percent is also included here in recruiting and networking. Do not underestimate your recruiting efforts. Networking matters. Okay. I don't know how many of you guys have like a data analytics background or any of that kind of stuff, but when I was at NYU Stern, I went to their career office. I proposed like a data analytics project. I said basically I wanted to look at all of their recruiting data and figure out what matters. So I got data across 3 cohorts, ran a survey on top of that, grabbed all of their back-end recruiting data, and basically ran multivariate regression analysis across the 20 or 25 predictive variables that we wanted, right? Did they submit a cover letter? How many languages spoken? Data analytics skills, GMAT, GPA, citizenship, number of contacts at the firm, et cetera, et cetera. The number one factor in your short-term control was networking. It was networking. Okay. So, quick question for you guys. We're going to run a quick poll. We're going to do a really quick, this is just testing your guys' chart and exhibit interpretation skills, which is very important for your case interview. Oh, is there a way to show the poll and the chart at the same time? I wonder. Yeah, okay. Quickly look at this. My question for the poll, we'll switch back to the poll in a second. The question is how much does networking increase your chances? And I think the options are like 20%, 40%, double, triple. Okay, so look at this chart for a second. How much does networking increase your chances is the question based on this exhibit. I give it 20 seconds. And then let's go back to the poll. And I hope it can get rerun. Oh, if you all click on, there we go, perfect. And if you click on the right-hand side, I think you can get the vote. So everyone vote really quick. This is to bring home a lesson, but it's also to get you a teaser into your own chart and exhibit processing ability, which is central to your case interviews. Okay, everybody vote. Okay. And then, do we know how to get the results, team? I'm glad I don't have to figure this one out. And if we don't, that's okay. You all will know what you voted for. Okay. Oh, cool. We get the live results. Beautiful. Okay. And then if you guys can stop sharing the poll, and I will go back to sharing my workshop or my presentation. Okay. All right. So thanks for bearing with me, guys. Now, I don't know what the results are because I can't find it, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter. The answer is quadruple. Okay. Oh, I see the results. Beautiful. All right. So 1/4 of you got it right. It's quadruple. Don't get confused with percent change and percentage change. So if we have a 20% invitation rate up to an 80%, that is 4 times, right? It is not a percentage change. It is a percent change. Makes sense? So it goes up by 60 percentage points, but 80% is quadruple your chances of 20. Now, please don't take this too literally. I actually wouldn't want anybody trying to network with 10 people. Okay. And I'm not even saying that 5 or 6 is the sweet spot. This was for NYU Stern in 2018, 2019, 2020, right? And it's very specific. But what do we know? We know that networking matters. And for any of you guys that know data analytics, I did tease out causation. And if you're ever curious about how I teased out causation, I'm happy to tell you. But this is not just correlation, it is causation. I was able to prove that. Okay. So please, I'm harping on this a lot because it is your number one controllable factor apart from how good your resume is in terms of getting an interview. Okay. All right. So, how do you do it? Really quickly, you want to prep beforehand. All right. So, think about what you want to learn about the company. Always research the company a bit and have your pitch ready. You don't want a long, lengthy, robotic pitch, but know why you're interested in consulting, why you're interested in that company. Be ready with a quick elevator pitch. Make it natural. Please make sure it's not this memorized, rehearsed thing, but a conversation during the call or during the coffee chat, whatever it is, ask about them, right? Their experience at the firm, if they have advice for you, their background, any genuine questions you have. Be inquisitive, be interested in what they say. Feel free to ask follow up questions. Okay. And in the end, always, always, always reflect on if this job is right for you. You guys are on a job hunt. You guys are searching as much as they're searching for you. So you get to choose too, right? Do you like the firm? Do you like the role? Think about how you can adjust your resume or application, write down notes, and send a thank you note. Okay. You are ultimately trying to get a referral or something like that. But if you don't, even just having touch points, right? Here, I did not ask, does the person have a referral? I just said touch points. Okay. So touch points are important. How do we network? I'm gonna mostly skip this, but there's a technique that you can use that like takes you from spending 20 hours messaging people and getting 30 responses to spending 1 hour and getting 50 responses. Always happy to take you guys through that, but here's kind of a light view of that. When you reach out, make sure the message looks tailored. If you can mass produce it, that's great though. And then you want to play tag and also hint at the referral. So at the end of the call, everything's gone well. Try to hint at needing a referral. Say something like, "This call has been so helpful. Really appreciate it. I'm definitely going to be applying. If you have any tips for me or anything like that, I'm really interested." And then play tag. Try to get put in touch with someone else. Because if you cold message someone on LinkedIn, they have a wall up. If you have a call with them and then they introduce you to someone else, well, that person knows Amy and Amy says that you're worth talking to. So now that person's wall is down, which means you have a higher chance of getting that referral. Okay. So those are some quick tips, and there's more in that link as well as the course. Okay, create your own mass-produced network, a message, and then stay connected. Okay, so keep track of your calls. All right, behavioral will also mostly skip over, but just make sure that for the interviews themselves, you're prepared with your foundational answers and make sure you have your stories prepped. Okay. For the networking, just make sure you have your foundational answers. Okay. All right. So you want to apply to the most firms possible with the least amount of time. You want the highest percent chance of being invited to interview. And then you want the highest percent chance of passing the interview. That equation, the higher each of those numbers are, the more your final offers are. It's a math equation, right? So let's talk about this really quick. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because I know you guys are more at the beginning of the journey, but I want you to have this as some things just to kind of sit with. Okay. Um, Foundational prep. It's really important that you get your math and exhibit and chart reading right. 3/4 of you did not have appropriate exhibit reading. That's okay. I'm not here to attack, but we all have things to work on, and I did as well. So 3/4 of you need some exhibit work. But this happens early on. Even if you can start today, I would really recommend it. Math, get it good. Background reading, do it from now until forever. I do daily reading since basically the past 15 years. Financial Times, Robinhood Snacks, The Economist, not because I have to, but because I like to. And then that helps you understand basically everything that's happening and you can break down all business problems. Okay. Get this habit started now. Okay. This is the daily cadence, this one. Foundational prep industries, worry less about memorizing industries and more about learning how industries work. And that's why I have a industry template that is empty and you can fill it out and then there are answers for you. But the act of researching industries is going to be really helpful for you. It's not about knowing all the industries in the world, it's about learning how they work. The world of frameworks, okay? Um, I'd like to pull this up because, look, this takes an hour to talk through, okay? But what is it? If you guys have seen frameworks online before, please erase them from your memory, right? If you're looking at like becoming a chef, right, and you just blindly follow a recipe, you're not a real chef, okay? And I know it's kind of like grandstanding to try to compare those things, but it is kind of the principle. Revenue and cost is not a profitability framework. It's just not, okay? Market, company, competition is not a framework, okay? What is I understand how this situation for this company exists in the real world and how we're going to go about and solve it. And so the world of frameworks is this visual that I've created that actually connects all of your classic case types together and teaches you how a profitability can go into a growth, how growth can turn into an M&A, right? How pricing can come from any of them or any of them can result in. A case can be multiple case types. So this is a video I created. It's also something that I work through and walk through. It just takes a really long time. But the nugget that I want for you guys here is don't just think that these things exist in a vacuum because the world is interconnected and therefore business problems are interconnected. When you go into your prep, understand that you are not to just go and memorize frameworks online. You are to actually look at how these interconnect and how we think about these things. Okay. Now, case preparation. Please remember, this is so important. No one knows this at the beginning, and it's shocking. And I didn't know it either, and I wish I did. A case interview is a real life project. It's that simple. Simple doesn't mean easy, but don't think that this is a random exam. This is not an examination, it is a simulation. So your case interview is a simulation of a real life project, and therefore everything that you need to learn and do is what a consultant would need to go and do in real life. Right? So view it like a real life project. Understand that it's a real life situation. Recognize that a framework is not just a bunch of words, it's you setting up a team, it's you setting up a project. Okay. And then when you solve the case, that's you on the job. Just recently, I helped an old friend of mine who's a BCG partner now, which is kind of cool. It's always funny to see, you start out as consultants and now they're all partners. But he needed help creating his case. He had a really bad case. I'm not going to say his name, right? Of course, but he had a really bad case and he needed help. So we workshopped for like an hour and a half and we built out a case for him. We fixed it all up, had different flows and all that. It was based on his project, right? That's how this works. They're real life projects. So don't go in thinking it's an examination. It is a simulation. Okay. All right. And then I'm just adding another link. For the world of frameworks, a deep dive, there's a free sample video for you. It's the first 10 minutes of that video. So there's that link there if you wanted to get that. Okay. So yeah, first 10 minutes is totally free. Okay. We'll skip that part. Now, stay organized as always. And then this is just what I was talking about, right? Think about a case. A case interview is a real life project. Recognize that the clarifying questions that you guys might have to ask are the initial client meeting and then your frameworks and project plan. And we'll just skip over this really quick. So now I have a quick poll for you guys. And unfortunately, I probably uh, already gave you guys a little bit of a hint, but I want you guys to tell me before we pull up the poll, look at this framework and tell me how good you think it is from a scale of 1 to 10. Okay. Should we enter this market? I want to look at market. I want to look at company. I want to look at financials. Okay. Answer that poll. And now I see how the polling works. I can see the answers coming through. So 10 is great. 1 is bad. We'll give you guys a minute or 30 seconds. And I know some of you might not have seen frameworks yet, but for those of you who aren't quite sure what a framework is, right, is how we start a case interview, right? And the reason I'm doing this is because before you guys go into doing all of your case prep, I need you to have the right mindset. So if you don't know, it's okay. You don't have to answer. But yeah, should we enter this market? I want to look at company, or market, company financials. Under market, I want to look at size, growth, competition. All right, let's close the poll and let's see what the results are. Okay, cool. So, it's funny. I hinted at this earlier, so I was curious at how many of you guys. I would guess that you guys rated it a little bit lower than you probably would have, but even then, you rated it too high. This is a bad frame. I don't think I'm allowed to curse, but what the f is this? What are we even saying? What does this mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's a one. But wait, Ian, I see this everywhere online. Yeah, because everyone online is trying to sell you stuff. And it's easier to type out something like this than explain to you how to think, right? So normally I get people saying it's around a 7 out of 10. And I think you guys shifted it down to about a 5 because I kind of gave it away a little. This is a framework. And by the way, don't think it's just questions. It can be statements. These are the exact same thing. But here's what it sounds like. In order to determine if this market is attractive, first, we need to make sure that the market, sorry, I messed up. In order to determine if we should enter this market, first, we need to determine if this market is attractive. That's the first step. If this market is deemed to be attractive, then we have to make sure it's attractive for us, that we will do well here if we do enter. And if that is true, then we have to make sure that executionally we can actually pull it off and that it makes sense. When trying to determine if this market is attractive, I want to look at size, growth, margins, competition. The costs are fixed costs and variable costs. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. I want to make sure that it's a large growing market, that this market has good margins that we expect to continue, and that competition is either non-existent or weak. If we determine that this is attractive, then when figuring out how attractive it is for us, we need to make sure we understand it, that we can bring our strengths to it, and that our product is better than the competition's products in the areas that the customers care about. Right? This is frameworking. For today, guys, don't worry. I don't want you to think, oh my God, I don't know how to framework. I'm not there yet. You won't be there. It'll take many months. But please just, if you can even think about it a little bit this way as you start out your prep, you're going to save yourself so much headache. Okay. So come in thinking about, how do I solve problems for a company? How do I solve problems for a company? Put another way, how do I framework properly? Which that link will help you understand better. Please remember, this is a long journey. Okay. And then last thing on frameworking, maybe you guys have seen like, oh, here's the framework for market entry, right? Here is the killer framework for market entry. Buy this, right? Okay. Well, what if your market entry question is, should we enter? What if your market entry question is, the market is booming, should we enter? All of a sudden, that framework you've been sold online doesn't apply. What about, we're evaluating 3 markets, which one should we enter? All of a sudden, the framework that you've seen as the market entry framework doesn't work. What about, we are entering? We've decided that we are. Our client has done a due diligence. We like this market. We're going to enter. How? That is a market entry. You cannot have the same framework. So a market entry is not a market entry, is not a market entry. Again, this is not to overwhelm you guys. It's actually to make you realize, do not go and memorize stuff online. Learn how to think about problems. Okay. How do I know this? Because I track the questions, right? I worked at VCG. I interviewed a bunch, but also I track the questions. Okay. Gone are the days of your classic case types. More than 50% of case questions, case interviews are random, as in they are not classic. They are not, how do we fix this profitability issue? They are not, should we buy this company? More than 50% across firms are things like, hey, we have a medical diagnostic company. They've designed a new blood sampling machine. How do we convince the staff at a hospital to use it? Oh, is that a profitability? Nope. Is that a market entry? Nope. It's just a problem that a real life client has, right? We're trying to create a production site. We need to decide between Mexico and the US, and we're an eco-friendly shampoo company based in Australia. Right? It's not a classic. We're doing a pilot for last mile delivery with drones. Do we pick suburb or city pilot launch? We need help deciding that. This last one, I'm not going to say which company, but a very prestigious company asked this around the world many times last year. Okay. major international bank across 7 geographies setting up an employee training program. They're hiring more tellers. How do we train them? Right. So again, this isn't to overwhelm, but it's to show you guys, hey, think about these problems. Okay. All right. So come in with this view as you start your case prep. There's a whole bunch of techniques. The course goes through them. We only covered the project plan one, but there's a lot of ways to make sure that you framework properly. Okay. Whew, we made it. That was the fastest I've ever done this. I hope you didn't mind me talking too quickly. This is the first, couple of percents. Okay. So just please, like, if there's anything to remember, it's like recognize that this process is long and difficult. Maximize the number of applications and maximize your percent chance of getting invited and maximize your percent chance of passing. And when you're doing your case prep, make sure that you've got a long runway and make sure you're not just memorizing stuff. Actually think about how you're solving these problems. We're going to put up a link really quickly to the this 100 plus video consulting course that I have. So it covers all of this. This is how the course is set up. It's 100 plus videos, 15 hours. It dives into all of this. Okay. It has exercises, practices, all of that. Highly encourage it if you're interested. If you're not, that's totally okay. Now, one quick question again. We're going to do a quick poll. Very quick poll. You might recognize the poll. I think we can pull it up again. Beautiful. And if we can pull it up on the screen, very quick poll, 10 seconds. All right, close the poll. I just want to get this ingrained. Nice, good job. All right. Some people said triples. That's fine. I mean, it depends on how much you network. Obviously, please don't take that literally. It's not like, oh my God, I should have an 80% chance with every company where I have 10 contacts, but please make sure you network. Please, for all of this prep, think about why you're doing what you're doing. Be time efficient and understand the why and the how of things, not just the what. Don't just go and memorize stuff. Okay. Feel free to book a intro call if you like. Intro call is not for advice; it's for talking about the coaching. Okay, so but if you're interested, just take a look at my profile, the packages, all of that, and then if you end up wanting to meet, please feel free. I'm here for you guys. Um, we're gonna pull up one other link. This one is me being really optimistic about you guys. I think you guys are going to do great. But here's a link to a consulting survival guide. So basically, when you get into one of these firms, some tips that I learned from my peers and that I think are really important to surviving and succeeding in consulting. It's a kind of just a quick list. So feel free to bookmark that or send it to yourself in the future for when you're starting. And then just the last thing. Well, I'll let that happen. I'm going to switch to questions. I think I have a slide for that. There we go. I'm going to switch to questions. And yes, let's take it away. And I'm going to stay a little bit later, but thank you everyone for joining. I went way quicker than I normally do, so I hope you don't mind that I was kind of jumping through. I hope you got some nuggets. But good luck in your journey, and please apply everywhere, cast the net wide, think about why you're doing what you're doing, and just move through this by avoiding as many pitfalls that your past peers have made if you can. Okay, it's been a pleasure, and I'm going to answer some questions now.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ian. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Alan. I'm a current student at Wharton, and I'll be reading off some of the top voted questions that you guys have had during the session. Um, First question. Does having a career break of almost 2 years make it impossible for me to get into MBB consulting post MBA? I took the break due to medical reasons, and now I have been finding it difficult to find a job in this economy.
Perfect. Okay. Uh, I need a clarifier, which is, are they in the MBA program or not? I'll answer both if there's no way to get a clear answer. If
I
you are, yeah,
think
go
it's
ahead.
hard. It's hard.
That's okay. No worries. Um, so if you're in an MBA program currently and you're in, you're studying and all of that, no issues at all. No issues at all, right? Because you're going through that university's career path. Obviously, you want to be in a top 15 MBA or something like that, but they have all of those events planned for you. You've got all the application portals, all of that. Okay. So, uh, so there's that. If you haven't worked for 2 years and you're out of your MBA for 2 years, you're not going to get into MBB. Like, I never say never, 5% chance. But again, remember my slide. You care about MBB and you care about all the rest. So please don't obsess about 3 companies. A lot of people get in and they're not even happy. Okay. You think you want MBB? Well, first of all, aim for that. Don't let me tell you no, but stop thinking about MBB. Even if you've gone to Harvard and Yale and you have 10 years of experience, you might not get MBB. So no matter who you are, please stop with the obsession of MBB. Apply to all the rest. And if you're 2 years out of an MBB or 2 years out of an MBA and no work experience for those 2 years, you do have to lower the bar. And maybe in 3, 4 years you get an MBB. Again, I'll never say never because who knows, right?
Yeah.
But that is the direct and honest truth. So go and get I don't like the tiers, but I'm going to say tier 2. Go and get a tier 2. Tier 2s are great. Go to a boutique. Do pro bono work. So for a lot of my candidates that don't have work experience or don't have a strong resume, I have them go and actually work for free at pro bono consultancies. There's a million online. Go and Google them. Get 3, 4, 5 projects under your belt. There are so many experiential learning programs out there that you just apply and you get that experience. All of a sudden, you don't have a 2-year gap in your resume. So please don't shoot for MBB. Please don't only shoot for MBB. No matter who you are, assume you won't get it. No matter who you are, assume you won't get it. Apply to all of the rest. And if you want to even more increase your chances, go and do the free stuff. Get all of these projects on your resume. You need to show them that you're serious about this because you're competing against thousands of others. So you do have to stand out. Cool. I hope that wasn't too direct. I'm a very direct coach, but I think that just helps. No beating around the bush. Thank you for the question. That's a great question. Really, really good question. I appreciate it. Okay, next
Cool.
one.
I'll move on to the next one. Mark, this one is answered, and then to this one. How should someone with an IT consulting
Okay.
transition to management consulting?
Yeah. I'm guessing you asked that one maybe because you are in IT, but also I was in IT too, which I might have mentioned at Appian. Um, in my course, I have a full breakdown of that because I give an example of resume walkthrough, why consulting, why the company from an IT consultant perspective, i.e., telling that story. I also talk about how to do it no matter what your background, but that's an example. Do what I did, right? So IT consulting, you need to change your resume so that's much more focused on the strategy side, right? That's the wordsmithing of your bullet points. You need to get additional experience if you can, so in the pro bono stuff, right? Signal to them that you're interested in that strategy. I did a bunch of pro bono consulting before I did my recruiting. I did it with Stern. I did 2 programs that were experiential consulting. I did an MBA to show it, and then I networked a ton, right? So make your resume worded in the right way for it. Get experience on the resume as well. That helps. MBA, pro bono stuff, and then network a ton. Okay. Cool. Next question. Thank you.
Cool. Next question. Do MBB work within infrastructure, manufacturing, and energy sectors in a significant amount? Do consulting companies accept sales, business development pre-MBA work experiences?
Cool. For the first question, yes, it'll depend on your country. For example, in Australia, huge energy and mining sector, infrastructure and manufacturing, you probably get a lot in China, for example, is going to depend on the country, but absolutely, again, very country specific. But just what does that country do? That's probably what the consulting firms focus on. Even if they don't focus on it, though, they'll probably have practices that have areas in that, even if they're not the biggest. So significant, it depends on the country. Do they work in it? Period. Yes. Do they accept sales backgrounds, et cetera? You could insert anything there, and the answer would be yes. The best consultant in our Sydney office was a professional violinist at the Sydney Orchestra. Okay, the partner on my project it used to be a professional flautist. I worked with English majors, lawyers, doctors. Right? They accept everybody. So insert sales, business development. pre-MBA work experience with anything? And the answer is yes, but you have to tell them why you have the skills to fit. Okay. So it's your job to pitch yourself and tweak it. And that's part of that resume walkthrough, the why consulting, the networking, and your resume itself, tweaking those bullet points. And I'm always happy to take your resume from where it is to what a strategy consulting would want to see based on the wording. Okay. All right. Appreciate that.
Cool.
Good
We'll mark
question.
that as answered. And then for
Yep.
the final question, this one seems to be a little more MBA focused.
Yeah.
We have currently, I am in operations role in agri-tech startup. If I am to pivot to management consulting as a short-term career goal, would that make sense if I add it to essays?
Da-da-da. Oh, I think what you mean by essays, I think you mean the cover letter. Uh,
Okay.
the answer is probably yes, right? Because here's the thing: can you write your cover letter paragraphs in a way that demonstrate the skills that this firm is looking for, right? And if you can, then you should add it. My view is probably operations is good and probably tech startup is good. You will be able to take those experiences and write it in a way in the cover letter that demonstrates quantitative and qualitative analytical skills, that it demonstrates teamwork, that demonstrates solving problems. So, yes, you have to do it right, but yes. Okay. So great question. Really appreciate that. And for all of these questions, you can get the answers in the course, right? You get that resume template. You get me diving through how to work on your experience bullet points. You get the cover letter template. You get cover letter examples, me talking through how to write those paragraphs, etc. So please consider that, because everything we did today is that 1-2%. And you'll start to see as you go on the journey that something like that course that kind of helps you end to end is really going to be huge. But this is a great question as well. And again, kind of like the last question, right? I could put in any role and I could put in any company or job, and the answer would probably be yes, as long as you can tie those experiences to the theme of that paragraph, i.e., the skill that they're looking for. Makes sense? So, short answer for everybody: all of you can make it, but not into MBB. All of you can make it as long as you apply to a lot of firms, optimize your chances of getting the interview, and then optimize your chances of passing. So cast the net wide and take some of the nuggets from today to implement them. But consultancies love people from different backgrounds as long as they have the skill sets required. Make sense? Cool. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. Thank you for having me. I don't know any words, Alan or Boom, or should I kind of close it out?
Yeah, I think we're going to close it out. Just let me know and I'll click the end session
Yeah,
button.
perfect. Thank you everyone for attending. Welcome to the journey. Buckle in, but if you ride that roller coaster, get there in the end. Hope to see some of you in the future, and best of luck. And thanks for hopping on.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.